Welcome to TheatreCast, presented by the EdReach Network, giving educators a voice, a big voice. You've reached episode number 71, being recorded February 8th, 2015. This is a show where theater teachers and professionals share their passion for theater trends, share practical advice and tips, and ask questions of some of theater's most innovative collaborators. I'm one of your hosts, Nick Cusimano. I teach theater and film in St. Louis, Missouri. And joining me for our 2-year TheatreCast anniversary is Miss Danielle Files.
Hello, everybody. I'm coming to you from the wilds of Ohio, where I teach language arts, and I am an active theater artist in the community here as well. And we're super excited today to have two guests with us, not one but two, because it's the second anniversary. Think about it. I'm really excited to introduce Jess Eisenberg, who is one of the founders of a really exciting project we're going to hear more about today called 365 Women a Year, a Playwriting Project. Say hi, Jess.
Hi!
And sitting with her in cyberspace, but very far away in actual space, is Kendra Augustine, who is one of the playwrights involved with this project. So we're going to learn more about that today. Say
Hello.
hi, Kendra. There you go.
Hi everyone.
So, Jess, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the project, maybe a little bit about how you got it started and what the general gist of it is for our listeners and viewers who haven't heard about it yet.
Yeah, sure. It's called 365 Women a Year, a Playwriting Project. And it really was born out of me researching a season for a theater in Chicago called Prologue Theatre. And each season, it's about a time period or a very specific theme, and we were doing female painters. And I was struggling to find information on female painters throughout history and to write a musical. And I really just got haunted by all the women that are forgotten, that we've never learned about. And it's always been something that bothered me since I was younger, but it really just got to me to the point where I was like, I've got to do something more than just a theater company, like something that can get everybody actively doing something. And I didn't know quite how to do that, so I just sort of started it on my own last year and was like, I'm going to write about 365 historical women all by myself in 1 year. And then I was like, that's going to be not possible. So then I just asked some of my playwright friends, and that's how the co-founder came on board, Gina Scanlon, who I went to a very intense arts high school with, and then we also went to college together, and she's in New York. Have you met her, Kendra? Have you guys got to meet? Yeah, you guys have got to hang, so because you guys are part of New York City 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so we started working on it together, but that still only ended up covering, like, I think about 12 or 15 historical women, so that still wasn't making quite a dent. And around that time, I found the Facebook group Official Playwrights of Facebook, which has been just incredible. Now whenever you get rejected from a festival, you recognize all the names of the people who got picked. You know, it makes the closer circle. And so I just put a call up on there, and we had like our little 365 Facebook group that had like maybe 18 people in it. I put the call up, and it just kind of went boom. I think in about a month it went from 12 to 18 people who I knew to a couple hundred, just really quickly. And so then we were just playing catch up. I feel like all of last year we were playing catch up, trying to keep up with all the claims, which I was putting in like a long post on the Facebook group because we didn't have a website yet, and I didn't know what a Google form was yet. And now it's like this year it's been like night and day. This year it's like, look at how organized we are. It's amazing. Last year we had like, our playwrights over 60 scrolling for hours down the Facebook group page trying to find like this one post. So I feel so bad about the disorganization, but at the same time it's like it just went boom. We have like I think 1,000 people on the Facebook group now. Quite a few of them seem to be lurking. They haven't signed up to write about anyone yet, but
I'm one of those.
Are you lurking?
I am. I'm a lurker.
We don't mind lurkers. We just don't like the people who try to sell us sunglasses out of nowhere. And we're like, what are you
Haven't tried that. I'm just trying to
Okay.
figure out who I want to write about and what I want to say.
Right. So that's pretty much how it started, and then it's been really exciting just to have playwrights. We have so many playwrights from Spain, which has been really exciting. So we have Beatriz Cabur, who is kind of like our European chair, and so that's been really great because she works for Nightcore and works with HowlRound TV also. So she just was really able to get us a great opportunity for World Theater Day. So that's like the big thing we have coming up is having our own channel on World Theater Day. So I feel like I tangent. The project itself is playwrights writing about historical women. So playwrights from around the world can claim a historical woman and can write a piece up to 60 pages. And every year we're writing about 365 new women in history. And so we really just want, we're fighting for gender parity. We're really into the 50-50 by 2020 and really want to make sure that people can't say, well, I just can't find the plays, or we just don't get enough submissions from female playwrights. It's like, no, we have them here. Or there's just not plays about women in history. No, we have them here. Our next big thing we want to do on the website is have a database of female directors so that kind of excuse can kind of be off the table. We just can't find female directors. Really, we have a database. So that's what we're really just wanting to respect the women living and working and get their names out there, and respect the women's names who have been lost throughout history and get their names back out there. So I think that covers it a little bit.
It definitely does. It definitely does. It's so it's such a needed niche right now, especially, and that gender disparity is definitely reflected not only on the stage, I think profoundly on the stage, which is odd since it's dominated by women, especially actors. And there are a lot of female playwrights who aren't writing about women too, but that's another show for me to get on a soapbox about. But
Yeah.
and then it's also reflected in everything people are saying about the Academy Awards and all of that. I think that's why it went boom, because it's so needed. So Kendra, tell me how you got involved and what it's been like for you as a playwright, and how that journey has been going for you.
Okay. So I am always on Facebook, and I was part of the official Playwrights page, and I always looked there for opportunities, and I saw this opportunity, and then I checked out their page. I was so excited. I'm like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to write a new play. And I've never written about anyone who was alive. Everything I've written has been just something I've created. So this was a new challenge to write about a human being and create a story. And then I went on the page, and then all the women were choosing what women they wanted to write about. And I think everyone had to like go on Facebook and be like, I'm choosing this woman and I'm choosing that woman. And then I would look, and I was obsessed with Sylvia Plath at the time, and I was looking, and no one chose Sylvia Plath. I was like, is this real? So I just chose her, and then I got it. And then it was like, cool. And it became this really, really amazing thing. It was such a challenge. I was like, I love Sylvia Plath, but I don't know anything about her. Like, you know, I didn't read the Bell Jar or her journals. I've just always like found her words, and I thought they were beautiful throughout the years. So this forced me to actually learn about the woman and create a play that was beyond anything that I've ever done. I've never had to work this hard for a play. And it was like,
it usually means you're going in the right direction. So
yeah. And it was cool. I was like, I can say that I know about this woman, and I can say that I wrote this play that was inspired by her. It was really cool. I think it's the play that I'm most proud of, just because I've done the most work. And I've befriended many other female playwrights just because of this project. I mean, that's amazing.
So your play, did you take a I'm asking this not totally just from a playwright's point of view. Okay, maybe a little bit, but did you take it from a biographical standpoint? Are you looking at realism in it, or did you take more of a sort of non-realistic approach?
Yeah, I took a non-realistic. I think that was what I struggled with at the beginning was what do I write about? Like with Sylvia Plath, I'm like, do I write a story about her life or do I write something inspired? So that took me a long time to decide. I think I didn't start writing until December because I was like overwhelmed with how do I write a play? Like I got Sylvia Plath and I know other people probably wanted her, so I'm gonna have to do her justice. So
And
that
people
was
know who that is too. I imagine that's another challenge.
oh yeah, and it was terrifying. I was really, really like overwhelmed and like scared. And there was a point where I just like stopped because I was like, I can't do this. And then when December came and I was like in Florida, just on vacation, I was able to just like get back to it and create this. I think it was her poetry. Like I read The Bell Jar and that was cool, but it was when I read her poetry, it was like, oh, that's that's why she's like Sylvia Plath. It's like so beautiful. And then I decided I'm going to create something fantastical inspired by her poetry, and that like shifted everything.
Her piece is so good too. I'm gonna brag on her. Like I love her piece. It's so good. I had no idea that you didn't start writing it till December, but that's just, it's so interesting because if you really truly care about your historical subject, you're gonna torment just the hell out of yourself trying to respect her and capture the right thing about her. But some of the women we're writing about are very like polarizing people. Like some of them weren't maybe the nicest person. I mean, some of them were lovely. But so then you want to make sure you're respecting them, but still like getting the essence of them. You know, it's fascinating. Research theater, like
Yeah.
when you have to like be the dramaturg for your own play, you could just spend hundreds of hours tormenting yourself, like for sure.
Oh yeah, I
And at
totally
some
told me.
point, you have to put pen to paper or finger to
Yeah,
keyboard, I guess, in the
yeah,
more modern parlance.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So if somebody wants to read your play, Kendra, or any of the plays, Jess, how do they access the scripts?
Well, right now, the best way to do it is email us at 365womenayear@gmail.com, and you would put the playwright or the women in history you're interested in the subject line. I would contact the playwright and connect the playwright to the interested party, which has been exciting because we've had theaters contact us and be interested in pieces, and it's just so nice to give female playwrights good news because we don't get a lot of good news. So it's like I'm like that's the best part of this. So I'm like, guess what? Somebody's interested in your play, and I'm like doing a little jig at home. I'm so excited for them because it doesn't happen a lot. But that's the best way to do it now. Indie Theater Now is publishing all of our 365 plays for the playwrights who are interested in. So we're in the first 20 playwrights now getting it on there. So eventually the answer would be through Indie Theater Now. But right now, probably emailing is still the best way to get it done quickly. And the great thing is if you want a cast with 3 females, or if you want it to be just plays about frontier women, we can get you that grouping of plays. So it's kind of like ready-made festivals. You just tell me what you want, and we will make it happen. We've got pretty much anything you could want, really.
And how many do you have available at the moment? I know it continues to grow, but
Yeah. At the moment, I would say we probably have around 200,
wow.
a little more than 200, because some of the plays have more than one historical woman in the piece. So some of them might have like 8 different historical women in one single piece. So that's why it's not 365 different plays. It's 365 different historical women. But yeah, and it's growing. We have a lot of pieces already turned in for 2015, and a lot of people just already had the pieces completed. Mm-hmm. We have some playwrights who, I mean, they have been writing about historical women their entire career. So they have like 30, 40 pieces ready to go, and we're so excited to have a place that was like, please, we want historical women. So it's been really good.
What are some of your bigger success stories, plays that have been produced or that you're most proud of, the connections you've made, perhaps?
I got to talk to this fabulous playwright who's involved, Carolyn Gage, and it was just such an enlightening conversation. And she's had her pieces produced hundreds of times throughout the years. And what I really realized is just how naive, and I can't speak for my whole generation of female feminist people, but like I feel really naive about the fact that like the work we're trying to do has already been done. A lot of it has been done, but we keep backsliding. And we see all these young female celebrities feel like the word feminist is like this dirty word. And I feel like that's what happened when I was growing up, is I didn't know if it was safe to say I was a feminist. I didn't know, you know what I mean? I felt like uneasy about that word, but I felt like I probably was. And isn't that a good thing? But who knows? And so I feel like that backsliding is really hard for a lot of the people who have lived it and written these books that are out of print. And they're like, she was like, you were having trouble finding female painters in history? My friend wrote a book in the 70s about that to make sure these names wouldn't be lost. And so now it's like, okay, we can't let everybody down, every generation. We can't keep backsliding. This is the information age. We've got to make sure all of this stays out there. And so that was just really a life-changing conversation to me, and she's just so fabulous, and she is so hardcore about making sure that female playwrights don't stop feeling like they can't write about their stories, as you mentioned earlier, like that they can't write about the women's stories that need to be told because it's this weird little niche. It's like, no, it's not a niche. There's 50-50. We need to tell these stories.
51-49, actually.
Right? And so, yeah, so that was just she's a really cool playwright. So look up Carolyn Gage. She's awesome. But yeah, just all these names that are presently writing and have gotten produced all over hundreds of times, and I didn't know their name before this project, but we should know their names. We shouldn't just know 10 living female playwrights' names and that's it, you know. So it's not even dead women. It's the living ones too. Yeah. So.
So true. And Kendra, have you had any leads on getting your piece produced and the future of your Sylvia Plath? What's it called, by the way? What's the title?
Oh, it's called Dying is an Art.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the New York City One group, we're having a reading. All of our plays, like 15 women, and we're having our plays read. We haven't picked a date yet, but we're thinking April. So that's where we are right now. And I did get a director, because she directed my play last year in a different festival, a different play, and we won. So obviously I kept in contact with her. And she actually is directing another play within our 15-women group. So that's what we're doing right now. But I think at our reading will probably be like memorized anyway, so it'll almost be like a production.
And you learn so much more about your play when it actually gets in the mouths of people instead of just in your own head.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to hear it out loud.
Yeah, that's what's been making people scared to turn in their plays, because they're like, I'm not done, and it hasn't been performed yet. I'm like, it's okay. It can be revised. You can revise it. I get it. I never feel done either. It's okay. But I'm like, just turn it in. Turn in what you have. We'll figure it out.
Wasn't it Uta Hagen who said, my dear, you're never done?
Right?
I think I'm going to attribute it to her. If she didn't say it, she should have.
Right. I'm sure we'll all haunt our plays after we're gone, and we'll be like, just change that line. I meant to change that line. Come on.
Well, I think you can. I think you can. Why not?
Yeah. I think it's cool that we can revise it. That's what makes it okay. Because we're like, okay, it's perfect, or it's not perfect now, but I'm sending it, and this is it, and if something else comes up, I'll change it, which I think is so cool.
It feels like a project that's ready-made and really wants to link up with education and with schools. Nick can probably nod vigorously to the fact that I'm sure you're always looking for plays that have lots of female roles that are juicy. Have you guys made any inroads or thought about connecting with schools and educators?
Yeah, it's been exciting because quite a few of our playwrights are professors at various colleges. So we have a festival at Bennington College in Vermont. We have a lot of playwrights who are professors at Berea College in Kentucky. So, and we've had a couple colleges approach us about potentially streaming on World Theater Day. And that's definitely something like growing up doing academic theater and community theater, I literally thought there were like no female playwrights at all until I finally got to be in the children's hour, and I was like, oh my God, it's a girl, and this play's like sort of about lesbians or a lying sociopath. I don't know, but it's about girls, and I was like, very excited. But yeah, so I just feel like it's still just so sad how much our theater textbooks and theater history courses can spend so much time. I mean, I can't get back the hundreds of hours that I've been forced to read or to go through the same exact like Shakespeare play over and over and over again. It's just like.
And he actually wrote pretty good stuff for women, considering. But
yeah, all things considered. Well, if he even existed, but we won't.
Yeah. You'll have to look back. I think we talked about that at one point.
Oh, did you?
We had a couple shows about that, I think. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! But yeah, so we really, really want the theaters that are at colleges and community theaters not to produce these same. If they do have that female playwright, that it's always Lillian Hellman, or if they do have that one, what they would call their black show, that it's always A Raisin in the Sun. Yeah. It's like we're not niches, like people of color are not a niche, women are not a niche. This is not how it should be, but it's still so like that. So we definitely would love, and that's what Indie Theater Now does. So we were just ecstatic when they reached out to us because their big thing is getting these new pieces by female playwrights out to the colleges. So we're very excited. And if any college is listening and is interested, we have time slots open for World Theater Day. Just email us. We'd love your students to be able to have that opportunity and to be in works by women for sure.
So what about K-12? What about high school or middle school age folks? Have you thought about that too?
Yeah, for sure. My husband's teaching a class with high schoolers, and he had 3 females, and the plays that they provided were all by men. And so, of course, he's married to me, so he's like, And so he was like, well, I needed to have 3 females in it and be high school appropriate. And all I had to do was go on our Facebook group and be like, all right, ladies, we have some young female actors who need some pieces. And so we definitely have some high school appropriate pieces. I'm not sure how many of our pieces would be elementary school appropriate, but I know that if we put out a call for that, we would have so many playwrights dedicated to being like, we will make something happen. My big dream is by 2020 is having a young playwrights version to where it would be all playwrights under 18 submitting their pieces about women in history. But I try to rein myself in because I have a tendency to really go big or go home. And then, but I definitely have some plans for that because it's so important. I think there's just so many young ladies who think there's so many things that they cannot do because they aren't shown that it's possible. So we would love to make that happen in the near future for sure.
Kendra's liking that, I think.
Yeah.
Nick, what do you think about that? Would that be something that you could see?
I think as for me, it's always a challenge. We just doing a musical. We have tons of talented ladies, and it ends up being okay. And sometimes those old book musicals. It's 4 girls. Have the solos, and it's 5 or 6 guys, and some more, and if we could expand that out, then that gives that more opportunity because I'd say it's more like 70-30, of split within the kids auditioning for after school. I mean, I always tell The odds are always better for boys when it comes to auditioning because there's less of them who audition. And
It's true. I
so,
mean, if you're a woman who did theater in high school, raise your hand if you had to play a boy.
Yeah.
Everyone just raised their hand. Everybody just raised their hand. And if I say if you're a boy and you had to play a girl, only if it was funny. And,
Right.
only if it was a joke. So I think that would be a direction that I'd really encourage any of our educators listening right now.
This opens up so many opportunities, and that, I would say that probably theater teachers may or may not be aware of. I'm aware now, and I will make others aware now. But I think sometimes we get set in our, okay, so I order from these companies, or these companies send me the catalog, that type of thing. But now I know with the indie theater, I have another place to look to produce shows, and also the 365 Women Project website as another resource. And students are always excited to be in new works because that it doesn't happen all the time, but we forget that plays didn't stop being written in 1975.
What?
But it sometimes feels like
It does.
that that's what either we're supposed to do or allow, supposed to do. But content-wise, sometimes it's all those interesting challenges, and it's out there. We just have to search for it and help others find it.
So switching up a little bit, Jess, let's pretend that I'm one of your lurkers. It's so real. And let's pretend that I have a playwright in mind. I do, and I don't know if anybody's taken her yet. The last time I looked, she wasn't on your list, which made me super happy. But what's my next step? What do I do? Do I need to have a word written before I...
No, that's the exciting thing. We're so used to having to submit all these pieces that are this festival is about deep waters in the sky, and make your 10-minute play fit into that theme, and you're like, oh my god, I don't, what, so this one, it's really you don't have to have a word written before you sign up, which is nice, and also means we have a little trouble getting people to finish sometimes, but so the first question this year right now would be, is your person white? Because if they are, then no, because we hit our Caucasian limit. So.
That's hilarious. All right.
Yeah, so that might just put you out of the running right away. I don't know. But there's a great page on our website. It's called 2015 Info. It's so nice to have this year. I answer 1,000 less questions because I just can direct you to this page. And what you can do is it directs you to look through the historical women from last year. So you can just do your kind of Command F and search through to see were they chosen last year or not. And then if you continue down the page, you can see everyone who's already been chosen for this year. And it also gives you a list of great ideas if you are very overwhelmed by the hundreds upon hundreds of people that you cannot choose. There is a list of people that are exciting to take a look at if you're having trouble looking beyond those, almost 600 people that are gone that you cannot choose. And it also just talks you through the steps. Your first thing is going to be to fill out a claim form. We ask you to pick 3 women. You don't have to write about all 3 women. That way, if Sylvia Plath got nabbed by Kendra, you have a couple other options. And then you would just follow the directions on the page. It's pretty simple. To keep it easy. And this time, you won't get on the website until you turn your piece in. So that way, don't make that mistake again. So I feel like every year we're learning more about how to just make it a cleaner, easier process. So I don't know if that answered your question. You'll stop lurking now and join in the fun.
It will. It'll help me, at least help me narrow down who I'd like to think about writing about.
Yeah.
And hearing you, Kendra, talk about the process you went through is helpful too. So kind of imagining that there's somebody out there who's thinking they want to start this and they're excited about writing. What advice would you give to the potential playwrights out there on how to pick someone, how to get started, and how to keep your motivation going?
Ooh, okay.
Oh, it's getting real.
Yeah, it's getting so real. I would say, well, first, a lot of people are nervous. They're like, do I have to already have, written something? And I said, no, just choose a woman and you have the rest of the year to write it. So it's like just all you have to do is choose the woman. That's it. You've got like several months to write. So don't, and it can be as short as you want it, 60 pages at the most, but it can be just a few pages so you don't have to write like a 2-hour play. It's like just breathe. And Jess gives you so many women to choose from. And it's like if you're like, I want to choose a woman I know, it's like, well, this is your chance to learn about someone you've never heard of, and just me as a human being, I can look at the other women and be like, oh, I've never heard of this artist, and like that's my education. So through this project, I chose 4 women this year that I know nothing about. So I'm going to learn about new women and write stories about women that people don't talk about. So it's like, it's cool, it's simple, but it's like revolutionary at the same time. So I just feel like there's no judgment. Jess doesn't say, well, your play sucks, so you can't submit it. She just like allows everyone a chance, and you don't have to be a professional playwright. You just have to want to write. That's it, and write about a woman. That's it. So I just think no pressure. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be like this produced playwright who's had like all these works produced and rich. It's just like it doesn't matter. You want to write? If that's something you think you want to do just for fun, just do it. That's it. No pressure.
Jump in.
Jump in. Yeah.
I like
that's our new commercial right there. Easy breezy, just pick a woman. You've got to, because I feel like people do kind of freak out about it, but it really can be as short as just a couple pages. So I'm like, if you're really freaked out, just write a long monologue, and it's gonna be okay. But it's definitely, I mean, it's just exciting to learn about new people. I get accused by people who get annoyed by me that like everything's like a teaching moment and like a learning research opportunity, like everything in life, And so, but it really is, and I've learned about so many people I didn't know about, to the point where there's been times where I've been like driven to tears. I'm like, how did I not know about this person? Like, this is insane. So it's just nice to get to learn so much. And that's kind of the goal, is like, I knew I couldn't cover every female in history by myself. It's so nice to have all this help. Thank you for because otherwise I drive myself insane. So it's really like all these playwrights are keeping me in less amounts of therapy. It's like, thank you for all of this help.
Oh my God.
Now, do you feel like the word historical is always sort of a packed word for me? What if somebody wants to write the story of their great-grandmother, or somebody who may not be famous? So maybe somebody was a spoken word poet in Chicago at some point and had sort of their fame, but very in a small space. Is that up for grabs as well, or does it have to be somebody who's got a Wikipedia page about them?
Yeah, no, I mean, if that were true, then we would never be able to. I mean, there's a Wikipedia project for us all to go on there and write the women who are not on there. So people are writing about their family members. They just have to have existed. I mean, my goal would be every woman who was born and took a breath has a play by the time I die. That's probably a little epic, but it really can be anyone. Now, at this point in this year, if your aunt is white, then no. But you can write about your aunt in 2016. But yeah, it can be anyone. Like, we had in our sort of like our I guess, tagline, we had ordinary and extraordinary to try to let people know it didn't have to be someone who had done like something incredible, some incredible feat. But then we're like, just because you didn't do an incredible feat, just like existing in the 1600s as a female is pretty extraordinary. So we were like, everybody's extraordinary, okay? But that was kind of try to get us to clue into people that it really can be. It can be any female in history.
That's all very, very helpful. Thank you. And you guys have a pretty strong social media presence. So what are some ways that people can connect with your project?
You started breaking up a little bit, but I think you said social media.
Yeah.
So it's our time to talk about Twitter, right? Yeah, that's been really what has gotten us out there the most would be Twitter. And the exciting thing is, like, on my own Twitter account, I just have the most random people following me who probably are also trying to sell me sunglasses. Like, everybody's trying to sell you sunglasses now. But for the really good thing is our 365 Twitter is really all our followers are activists, theater companies, playwrights, directors, so it's been a really great growth. We've really had a Twitter that keeps growing, and it's really introduced me to a lot of people I didn't know about, like the Kilroys, who are doing such great work, you know, for gender parity. And we've got a lot of playwrights involved with the LAFPI, like the Los Angeles Female Playwright Initiative. So we've really gotten to know some of them, and it's just we've gotten in touch with HowlRound, and I think that's how Indie Theater Now heard about us. So I'm trying to urge a lot of the playwrights who don't have Twitter, get on Twitter. Then when your play's being produced anywhere, and we will tweet, even if it's not your 365 play, even if you're not a female playwright with 365, if you are a female whose play is getting produced or published, we will retweet it every day. All you got to do is tag us in it or email me, and we will tweet about it, no problem. And then I can tag you in it, and all of these theater companies can see your name. It's just, I think this is like the new way we're all going to connect in the theater world for all of us who don't easily get our name out there and get our pieces out there. So I urge all of you to get a Twitter. I'm the new Twitter spokesperson.
And what is your handle? Did you say that and I spaced out?
Yeah, no, it's under my name, and 365, it's at 365 Women a Year. I'd plug my personal Twitter, but a lot of that is me like writing recaps of like Bravo TV shows, and maybe not as useful, but the 365 handle is where you'll find all the female playwright stuff.
And you guys also have a pretty active Facebook group as well?
Yeah, our Facebook group is more of like our work zone. So you have to ask to be added to it. We'll add you the rest of this year, but then once we're full, once we have every woman, historical woman, or her historical woman, if you'd like to say that, chosen for 2015, we'll close off the Facebook group again so we can just get everything done for this year, and then in January 2016 it would open back up again. So that's kind of like my brain freeze zone where I'm like, okay, we've got it all, now we can really, really work, get the festivals planned and everything before we have a million questions again. But the good thing is with the website, there shouldn't be as many questions because we really have it all on there, so it's really easy to search through the women. If you're a theater company wanting to find specific, you can look through by time period, you can look through by occupation or keyword, so it's really easy to look through now.
I'm just looking at your list on your website, which we should probably also talk about, which is
showing on the screen.
Oh, perfect. Which is 365womenayear.wordpress.com. It's got loads of information. That 2015 info page is probably a good place for people to start. And if you scroll all the way down, there's this section about women who are, I guess, suggested and currently available to write about. Are any of these women Caucasian, or has this list been culled?
No, the white ladies are gone.
They're gone. They're out of there. They're out
No,
of
we
there.
take. I'm being jokey about it, but we take it really, really seriously. We really want it to be 50-50, and we want to make sure any little girl can search for someone who's who looks like them or who has the same heritage as them. I'm working really hard to make sure that by 2016 we have somebody from like every sovereign nation represented, like all 197. Sudan and South Sudan, we've got to cover everywhere, you know. So we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there with covering anybody who isn't being represented.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so cool about this project was when Jess was like, all right, we need to look for women outside of just Caucasian women, and that was cool when she did that. I was like, really? And that forced everyone to just go and look at, like, well, what about the Asian women and the Native American women and the Black women who are just not talked about? And if you never heard of them, you had to look for them. And even I am doing a poor job of writing about people of color, which I hope to change next year. But it was like, I thought that was just so cool. And I just made Jess like much cooler to me.
Kendra, I think you're right. I think it's it's a good kick in the pants. It's telling that that's where everybody gravitates, sort of just out of maybe habit. I don't know. Out of that's how things have always been, and we don't even recognize the box that we live in until somebody takes it away, I guess. Yeah. And says, no, you have to go walk out there and go do something outside of what you just sort of habitually do. And I think it's true of female playwrights too, tend to write male roles. I'm always shocked by that when I look at sort of established female playwrights, so many of them. I'm like, what? There's 10 male roles in this and one really great female role? Come on. So this is a great project, both for the gender and for the just diversity of people that you're asking to be recognized and portrayed on stage. I think it's wonderful, too, that it's all-inclusive. Yeah. It's going to be a fun job to catalog all this stuff someday, ladies.
Yeah, I'm keeping such better records this year and have the information in like so many different ways. So when someone asks for a list, I have it in list form. When someone, it's like, it's time consuming, but I know it'll be worth it in the long run. But it really is interesting how we write about what we know, and sometimes that ends up self-loathing and without a lot of self-awareness because of what we're taught, and we're not taught about ourselves. And I think that's what happens. And it wasn't just that people were gravitating towards Caucasians. It was that they were gravitating towards Caucasians born in very specific countries in Europe who were writers who were born in the 1800s. Like, I mean, it's like, I was like, oh my, like, we got to a point where I was like, holy cow, like, I mean, I don't even know how this happened, but we are covering every female that's ever been born in England and wrote anything. Anything at all. So we've cornered the market on some of that for sure. But that's what happened. And you know, you want everyone to be able to be creative and write about who they're drawn to, but you're drawn to what you know. And there's so many women not written into our social conscious and our history books, and we're not going to get them written back in unless we demand it of ourselves to find them. So that's why it's super important. I mean, if I couldn't get people to write about anything but white female writers, we'd just shut the whole thing down. I'd be like, okay, I'll have to find a different way to do this. That's not what we're doing here. So, you know, the Bronte sisters are great, but come on. Yeah.
I found myself just Googling names that you had on just names that looked interesting, and found myself just sort of fascinated at the rabbit hole that I would go down. So I encourage everybody to go check out that list and do that. Google it. I almost wished I could have put links in so people could go see who they were on that site and get some sense of who the folks were. But it's loads of fun to go educate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's loads of fun, but warning, it can be tear-inducing when you find a list of young women of color who were hanged for no reason whatsoever at like the age of 12. You know, and how that we don't learn about that, and people try to tell us that things aren't perpetuating, and it's so important. And just the idea that, you know, this little girl could be murdered in this way with a crowd of people watching and her name just forgotten and her story's never told, that's when I start getting haunted, you know, and then I'm like, gotta go see my therapist and be like, let's talk about this.
And that's not relevant right now at all.
No, little children getting murdered for no reason. Yeah, so, but it's definitely, it's interesting because there's, you know, being back in Birmingham, I think my husband's family won't listen to this, but it's like they don't understand why I'm just always so interested in learning new things and like representing all these different women and researching, and you know, they think I'm a crazy Yankee vegan Jew from, you know, but it's like, I love them, they love me, but it's like, I do think sometimes they're just like, what is wrong with you?
You're an alien creature.
Right? Throw in the liberal and it's just like
Pinko socialist, yes.
I know, right? Oh yeah, right. So this project has been great because, like, I don't know if Kendra knows this, but Gina and I, who's the co-founder, are always like, we love Kendra. So I'm like, I was like, I get so nervous about talking in these things, which is funny because once it's conversational, I calm down. But I'm like, I need somebody nice to be on with me so I don't freak out. So, but yeah, Kendra, we always talk about how you're our fave. We're like, we love Kendra. Don't tell the other 300 playwrights, you know.
Oh no, I won't tell them about this. No one needs to know.
No one needs to know. Shh.
No.
What happens in TheatreCast stays in TheatreCast.
We're not broadcasting this or anything, right?
No.
No.
So
yes, Nick, our token male, go right ahead.
We do have some boys writing for us. We do have some male playwrights writing for us. We're very inclusive.
Cool.
Well, that's good to know that I can help represent the other 49% of the world. Just all of them. What has there been stories that you didn't know about, and in your process, just kind of hit you in the gut? That one of the playwrights, they created a story and like you either couldn't put it down or it haunted you?
I mean, I love Kendra's. I know that's like, seems like I'm like super bragging because she's here, but her piece just, I mean, I'm definitely always end up writing about mental illness and or lesbians and also mentally ill lesbians. I don't know, but so like to combine lots of those themes. And her piece just really, it made me feel connected to Kendra because I was like, this is how I probably would have ended up by the end sort of writing about Sylvia Plath, is like having those kind of voices in her head being present, because that is how it feels when that kind of thing is going on with a person. And I mean, that's one of the people we're always taught about, which is funny because she's such a sad, tragic figure. Maybe that is why, I don't know, but I just definitely, like, I read her piece and I was like, maybe all the plays will be really great. Like, all 200 of them, you know, are going to be so great. One of our playwrights, Thea Iberol, has a piece that's been produced in schools around California, and it has like 10 different actresses playing all the roles, but it must have like 50 females in history in it. And it's just, I haven't gotten to read it yet, and I definitely, that's like one that I'm like, I cannot wait to read that piece. I want to get the title right. But yeah, she's just, and she was so helpful at first as well in like starting to categorize everyone, because it's so hard to really categorize that many people by keyword. I mean, we still have a category I hate called witches, like in quotations, and I'm like, this is terrible because they were like killed for not being witches, but I need like a different name, you know, where you're like, I've got to find a different way to categorize these. But yeah, her piece is called We Did It For You. And it's just, it's a musical as well. Nick, I know you said you're looking for musicals with lots of female characters, and hers just has tons. You could probably have all the different characters played by different actresses and not double up. And that's a musical that could be
What?
Yeah.
Shut your mouth. That's
I know. I know, but I mean, so many of these playwrights would be at the drop of a dime if you said, I need a musical for 50 girls and this is the subject I want. I mean, that's the thing that I think people don't realize is, like, we're here. We are ready to write, and we're used to doing it for free. It stinks, but, like, if you tell us there's a bunch of, like, young actresses who don't have the right roles and you want a female, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's the problem, is that Carolyn Gage said that's our problem, is modesty, is just us being so passionate about our cause that, you know, I didn't even have a bio on the website that said I was the founder. I was like, well, I don't like that kind of attention. She's like, oh my God, like, we write ourselves out of the social conscious. Like, we can't do that. We've got to be able to, like, I'm trying to work on that, like, being like, it's okay to do, like, the humble brag or whatever, like, because it does happen where you feel that modesty, and a modesty mixed with, like, the self-worth of, like, well, I haven't had pieces produced at really big theaters or even regional theaters, so I should still be working for free, you know. But I don't pay any fees to have anybody read my play. No. That should be our next goal. None of us submit to plays that want us to pay you to read my 10 pages to fit in your theme of the skies are doomy and there's a cloud and it's raining, you know?
Sounds like a fun festival.
Yeah, I know. I wrote a whole play about it raining on Sylvia Plath with an umbrella to fill. No, I'm just kidding.
I think I've seen that. I think
you've seen that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got some pieces that have really, I believe it's Carolyn Gage's pieces, and it might be Nancy Gall Clayton, who she sent me. We have a page that has past productions on it, that if I actually tried to fill them all in, it would take me 100 years, or until we get some interns or something, because one of her pieces has been produced over 100 times around the country and the world. So I'm really hoping that some of these playwrights who have been working for the past 50 years, that we can, like, now I know their name, let me make sure other people know their name, because they are important, and they've done this work that us youngsters are trying to do now. They have put their entire lives into it. And we're not going to forget their names. I'll plaster them all over Twitter until I die, you know.
Well, I'm really grateful that you guys have talked with us about this and shared. I hope it gets people energized and that we've created even more work for you.
Yes. Listen, I nanny. The babies take naps, you know, so I can get all the work done.
So hit her up.
Or if you want to intern and you're really good at WordPress and you want to help out, because boy was I not good at WordPress, now I'm okay. We want to get the director database up. So if someone is like, I will get on your WordPress and help you set this up, I would love it, and I'll tweet all your stuff everywhere.
We'll tweet for food.
Apparently that's all I have to really offer you.
Massive tweeting.
Yes. Retweeting, starring, favoriting, whatever it is.
Yes.
The whole shebang.
Well, speaking of tweeting, as listeners listen to this and they want to connect with both you and Kendra, what are your Twitter handles so that they know where to follow you? And go ahead and give the WordPress address again too.
Mine is at 365 Women a Year. So if you ever don't like anything that somebody says on at 365 Women a Year, just blame me. It's not any of the other playwrights, but that's where you can find all the information. And our website is 365womenayear.wordpress.com, which Gina says sounds really do-it-yourself when we're supposed to, like, buy a name. But listen, this is what it is, okay?
And Kendra, what's yours?
Oh, I'm at Quiet Girl Riots.
Which I love the name.
Me too.
And Danielle, how can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me also on Twitter, and I'm a pretty easy retweet as well. Mine is at Ms. Filas, MSFILAS, and you can also visit my also do-it-yourself sounding blog at edunerd.blogspot.com.
And you can follow me on Twitter at edtech4theater, and you can also read my musings, and I'm doing 28 days of writing this month. So, yeah. So I'm not ready to write a play, but I'm at least blogging each day for the month of February, and that's at edtech4theater.com. So I can hopefully help you find the other part or put you in the right direction so that you can get your own help out with the naming. Want to thank you both for joining us today. This is a really exciting project, and really interested into delving in to see what's all in there. I think it's a treasure trove that all theater practitioners, performers, educators should get in there and really open up their point of view and share stories of women out there on the stage.
Well, thank you guys. It was so fun. I wasn't terrified at all during any of it, so I'm very happy.
And that's going to go in our commercial. Not terrifying. Excellent.
So thank you all again, and we'll see you next week on TheatreCast.
Woohoo!